All right. Hello, 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 and welcome to My Empty Hands, the podcast about the martial arts, typically focused on Kempo, but we give love to all the martial arts around here. Today, I am very honored to have the one and only Larry Tatum with me today, and yeah, we're going to talk about Kempo and talk about the martial arts and whatever other rat holes we happen to get onto. And yeah, so we are doing this live. So I have a little bit of a different setup than I usually have. So if there are bugs or technical difficulties, we will weather through them together. But think I've got everything set up in a fashion that will work for us today. So we're going to just kind of go through it here. So I usually start things off by just kind of giving a little bit of my background. I currently train in multiple martial arts at this point. American Kempo, of course, being the primary one, but I also train in Capoeira, Hapkido, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai. And I have some experience doing a little boxing and a little bit of Taekwondo. So I like to stay well-rounded, and you give me a martial art, I'm gonna I'm gonna want to train in it. So yeah, I can't say no, and that's how that's how I roll. But I stay busy with the training and work and doing the podcast. So. Yeah, I just it's just good times. I'm loving the training and trying to absorb all I can, and then with the podcast, just getting to talk with great individuals like my guest here. So I'm gonna kind of do this a little bit differently than I usually do. Usually with my guests, we get into their origin story and kind of how Kempo found them, how the martial arts found them, and I think with Mr. Tatum that topic has been covered quite a bit over the years. We'll definitely touch on it, I'm sure, but I don't think I want to start that way. So. I think we're going to probably do this a little bit backwards. I've been kind of playing with how I wanted to do this, so just forgive me if I bounce around or just get a little out of sorts here. I'm still trying to kind of navigate all of this here, but I think we're going to do things a little bit backwards here, and we are going to. I think we're going to go ahead and start with the lightning round. So on my show, I usually save these questions for the end of the interview, but we're going to go ahead and do it in the beginning, and then we'll kind of work our way backwards. So a few little questions that I have for you here, and we'll see what your answers are. I'm chomping at the bit to see how you're going to respond to these. So the first question is, do you have a favorite technique?
Do I have a favorite technique?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I think I do now. I like, oh God, fatal deviation.
Ah,
I like that a lot. It's a pattern that I identify with when I move a lot. And, it's not so much the technique per se, it is the pattern that facilitates the basics is what I like. Okay. Um, Sometimes when guys come on and say, well, that technique, how's that going to work? Well, that's the wrong approach to what's called a case study of motion. And that's what each of these techniques are. Most techniques are filled with enough little techniques that are sequentially aligned and patterned that one or two of them would work in a situation that the whole technique is designed for. But that's just one of the important things is when people ask me, what is the best one? What's the pattern that I identify with? Um, and when you have a technique to learn, you're giving only a certain amount of basics for that particular technique in the curriculum, and you're given a finite number of patterns, if not just one pattern, in the technique, so that you can facilitate the ideas that the technique is teaching you and the concepts and the principles behind it. So, um, a guy asked me the other day, what would be the best technique that he could use, and what would be the most important thing to learn in terms of self defense? And I said, well, identify the patterns and find the patterns that best suit how you move. Okay. All right. And if you do it that way, it's a different approach than to go and say, well, I like to chop, then I like to elbow, and I like to hook and claw, whatever. Okay. Uh, you can identify, of course, with the basics that you like, but identify with the pattern first. Okay. Because the patterns are like railroad tracks. Okay. They align the weapons. Okay. They track along the patterns, the lines of the pattern.
Gotcha. I like that. I'm stunned and amazed that you picked one technique. This is all usually a very difficult question for a lot of my guests, in that it's like picking one technique is like trying to pick a favorite child. You
Yeah,
can't.
that's true. Once I'm engaged in my motion, uh, then I like them all. Emotion to me, the patterns are, I can, uh, everything becomes subconscious in my reaction. A guy asked me, he says, well, how do you fight? I said, well, watch me move. That's how I fight. Okay. I move, I fight how I move. Okay. Um, Guy asked me, well, what do you think of jiu-jitsu? What do you think of judo? What do you think of wrestling? What do you think of boxing? So forth. And I said, and why are you asking me this? And well, I see you doing a lot of kempo, but what about the other things? I said, well, you're assuming I don't know. Okay. I mean, after how many years? 60 some odd years being on the mats. The guy said, well, do you teach? I said, I teach a lot of things. Okay. And I teach differently to each individual. Okay. But I stay with the curriculum and so forth. But, it just, techniques have to blend with how you feel when you start moving. Okay. Um, when I move and I get excited enough, okay, or something really gets me going, then I transfer to my subconscious and I let it feed what techniques fit the situation or the person. Okay. And it's just like if I go to give a seminar, it depends where I'm going. That once I get there, I feed off the atmosphere, the people that are there, and I instantly realize what I need to work with them. Okay, which is appropriate for that particular seminar. Um, but in terms of finding one special technique, yeah, I use a number for demonstrations. Okay, uh, but once I get moving, my subconscious then dictates to me how I move and what I'm going to use, not my conscious mind. Okay.
I like it. I like it. I like it. All right. Next question. Do you have a favorite form and/or set?
Yeah, I do. I Gosh, okay, I like finger set
Ah,
too.
yes,
I like it
yes.
because people say, well, when we do this, okay, and we're moving with the finger set one, okay, is what we're doing. We're taking the basics out of finger set one, and then we're facilitating them through footwork. The footwork then is the key to what are you doing with this set. Are you just stepping forward and then switching your stances forward to back, back to forward, and so forth? Okay, and covering with the strikes of the finger set. And it's more than that. Finger set two is a mass attack, and most people don't know it. Okay, now people say, well, where are the checks in it? Well, the checks, you see, a check is elusive. Sometimes, you can strike and you put a check up, right? You can pin a pinning check, a writing check, a striking check, however you want to check. But you can also strike in that form, and this is hitting the arm that's coming towards you. Okay, so that move has a built-in check and block and strike with the claw. So when you see this, don't assume that there's no check. Okay, and also being a mass attack, your footwork is so designed in that set is that it positions you, okay, relative to the attackers coming at you at all those different angles. Okay, the footwork is the secret sauce in that set, and that's how you want to look at it. Okay, if you do a move in finger set two, we block, strike, double claw, this one and that one, and your hands twisting. Well, people look at that and they say, well, there's nothing protecting you while you're doing it. You don't have your roving checks, your satellite checks that move around and all that stuff. But like I said, as one begins to move, you can drop an other hand or a leg checking and allow this to do the work of both. It's very sophisticated and it's in there. Okay, now that's something to chew on.
Oh yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna look at that in a different light now. It's and you see this so much in Kempo. There is these hidden movements, hidden blocks, hidden checks, hidden strikes in all of the forms, all of the sets, all of the different movements.
Yeah.
There's so many. Once you go in and dissect all of the movements and the patterns and apply the concepts and the principles, there's just so much that
Well,
you can mine from the material.
Reggie, the moves aren't hidden. The techniques aren't hidden. They're just dimensionally disguised. Okay? They're there. Okay? They're there. I mean, if you look at the universal pattern and you make, the diamond shape in the universal pattern, if you start at the top and your elbow is here, you'll see lines coming through in that universal pattern. And if you pass through that line, or rather that diamond shape, is that the upper and the lower case connect to this line, but this middle case also connects to a line as well. So there's more going on with the motion dimensionally, and this is, what I really stress to people. Just don't look at the basics. You don't say, okay, well that was hidden. No, it wasn't hidden. Dimensionally, you weren't aware of its use. Okay, that's all. It's there.
Gotcha. I like that. All right, we're going to move to the next question, and that is: do you have a favorite weapon?
Oh God! Besides myself,
I was hoping you were going to say that.
say that. My favorite weapon. Um, in the martial arts, I like the nunchakus. I did a video on it, and I like the knives, and I like the sticks. I like all three. Um, again, when you put a stick in your hand, like like this arrow, right? If I put that in my hand, now dimensionally, what has this stick done for me?
Mm.
I mean, here's the reach of me. Now, here's the reach of me.
Ah, gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah, okay, so it takes on another. It brings you into another dimension where a weapon this long can allow you to use the same patterns, okay, but keep your body where? At a safe distance, okay? And that's getting back to I changed the dimensional use of my patterns that I know in my art, okay, by adding length, okay, by adding length. When you study like an overhead club coming down on you, which is a basic concept of how to deal with it, but I asked the guy, I said, okay, where do you step when that club comes down? Say you're doing a technique, which is, what's this called? Obstructing the storm? Okay,
Yes.
let's say that you're doing that technique. Now, how far do you have to step in to that technique? Well, you have to step in deep enough and off to the side, the path of that club. So you're not blocking the club. That's pretty basic, right? Okay, now if a guy grabs a small club this long, what does he have to do to reach your head?
Got to extend himself.
He has to step deeper. Dimensionally, his step has to be deeper because this is too short. Now, if he has a club this long, his step has to be what?
Shorter.
Shorter, comparatively shorter. So, as a defender, when you're looking at a club coming at you, you want to also keep your eyes on how deep he has to step because of the length of the weapon, whether it's a club or a knife or whatever. Whatever the length is, determines the dimension of his step. Okay? There's that key word again. Okay? Okay. I don't want to get long winded, but
No, no, that is fine. That is fine. I like it. I like getting those insights into the answer and not just getting the answer.
yeah,
It's
if you
nice
get
to
into a fight, the guy has a club, give him a club this long. Okay. You're compelling him to do what?
step in and get closer. Yeah, I
Yeah, it's
like it.
step too deep. Step too deep. Okay. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. I like it. All right. I'm really interested in what your answer to this one is going to be. So, if there was anyone that you could train with, living or dead, fictional or non fictional, besides Ed Parker, who would that be?
Oh gosh.
it,
Well, let's see. Anybody that I could train with right now?
it
Um,
could be
anytime.
someone you've already trained with. It could be just anybody ever, whether they are real or not. I mean, I've had answers from Kung Fu Panda, Mr. Miyagi. I've had Jigoro
Gosh.
Kano. I mean,
You know,
anyone ever.
I like to train opposite people that are inquisitive, um, and that have a grasp on the depth of the system. Okay, now for as me as a teacher, that could be my wife. I love working with my wife, and I love working with my daughter. Okay, those are the two because when I work with my daughter, she before I even get the words out of my mouth, she knows what I'm going to say. Okay, and and also, on the reverse side of that, I like working with people that don't have a grasp on it. I always enjoyed working with people that have a disability, physical or learning or both. Okay, so that what I do has more meaning in terms of working with people, in our community and using might for right. So I can't. My daughter and my wife, I love working with them. But there's another guy I love working with is William Glenn. I don't know if you know him, but he's been one of my students for many years. he graduated from Caltech, and so when we got on the mats, his knowledge of physics, okay, was incredible. Okay, so I had to teach the art in such a way that it matched his education at Caltech, and that we became very close friends. And he's an eighth degree now. Um, that type of thing is what I like to do with people.
Very nice. I like it. I like it. All right. The next question. Uh, what is something that always motivates you to train, and or something that you'd want to put out there to motivate others to train? So I use the example of the movie Rocky Four. There's the training montage. He's out there running in the snow and chopping the wood. The music's going, and every time I see that scene, I'm ready to hit the studio, get on the mats, and get to work. So what is something like that motivates you to train, or something that you want to tell others to motivate them to train?
Oh gosh. Well, okay. Let's to answer that. You have people who can, people who can't, and people who won't. Okay. All right. And all three join the school. Okay. And I know as a teacher, you say, oh gosh, I can't wait till I get a genius, another genius physically. And okay. That would actually get boring. Okay. It doesn't tax you as a teacher, and it doesn't elevate you to teach the easy. Okay. It's a good break from your work at time to have a really adept student. Okay. But in answering your question, I have taught many kids that were autistic, ADD, or both. Okay, and uh, you have to learn, like Miyagi said, wipe on, wipe off, right? So I, at the beginning of my teaching with those children and adults too that have the same problem, I would teach them next to me facing the mirror, and I noticed that when I asked them to do this towards the mirror, right, they would raise their hand up and bring it back. Because what did they see? They didn't register it as what? Going out. They registered it coming back. So as a teacher, and then this is years ago, then I started to pick up books on autism and so forth, and what was the problem, and they found out that autism, uh, people that have autism are very intelligent, but their intuitiveness is in a different perspective. Okay, so in learning how to teach that type of kid, I got rid of the mirror. Okay, and then he started to go straight up. So that dawned on me and said, "Oh my gosh, that that's a big step. That's a big step." Now, if you're teaching somebody that will not commit to themselves emotionally to the lesson because they come in to take lessons, but you know they're almost dedicated to prove the teacher wrong. So okay, so they don't have to be obligated to self-defense. It's a strange dichotomy that comes into your schools. Is that people come in there and say, "Well, if I hit him, he'll probably beat me to death." Okay, and so, you know, how do you answer that? Okay, or if I do that, that'll just make him angry. Oh, I don't think I could do that because I'm slight built or I'm whatever. Okay, and then you ask them, then why did you pay me for lessons? Well, I want to learn how to protect myself. Well, then be quiet, be still, and I will teach you. Okay, all right. So they have to find a place of being still. Okay, it's a key word. Just be still. All right. Okay. I don't want to hear the reasons that you can't do something, because I'm going to give you reasons why you can. Okay. All right. And then you get the hot shots that come in, and their control is terrible. They get on the mats, they start sparring, and then the students come into your office and say, "This guy has no control." About a week later, another person comes in. This person just is, blah blah blah. Okay, so it's a type of bully, but they disguise it because they're on the mats, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, what you do then with that type of student is you give them responsibility. You turn them into teachers. Okay, you turn them into teachers. They get noticed. Okay, they get respected for their work. Does it always work? Not always, but a great part of the time it does. All right, so Miyagi's wipe on, wipe off. He never told the student what he was doing. Okay, because if he started telling him what he was doing, he probably wouldn't listen. So he was developing his what? His parries and his strength in his arms without his knowing. And we as teachers need to realize that. Okay, you don't have to give an answer to everything that you're asking them to do. Okay, unless they can't do it at all. Okay, but a lot of your teaching has to be allow them to feel it, move with it, don't question it. Okay, and then come back and say, by the way, why do you think I had you do this? Okay.
Very nice, very nice. I what you just said made me think about a question that I usually ask my guests about teaching. When you got involved in teaching, was that something that you always wanted to do, or was it thrust upon you? And a high number of my guests either weren't interested in teaching, or the teaching was put upon them, and they rose to the challenge, and so I like the idea of taking that difficult student and giving them that responsibility, and giving them that purpose. A lot of the things that we do, not just in Kempo or in the martial arts, we do because we need to have purpose. We need to have a reason to
Exactly. Yeah.
do what we need to do.
You you have to get the student to understand that he or she is important. Another key word, very simple word we use, but we don't always use it at the right time. They are important, and they have to know that. Now, I'll tell you, when I got my pilot's license, I got into the plane with my instructor, and I was teaching his family, and so we traded. I became a pilot, and he became a yellow belt. And
It's a good trade.
but I got in the cockpit, and he was very smart, very very intelligent, very famous pilot and teacher. And I sat there behind the controls, and he looked down at me, and he was a tall guy, and he goes, "Now, when you get your license, you're going to want to fly the way you want to fly." He said, "Okay, so let's start." But you know what the key word is he told me? He said, "You're going to get your license." Okay? It was very smart. I never forgot that. Okay, there's a lot of controls for the first time for anybody to see on the instrument panel. There's a plane. You're going to go up in the air, okay? But when he looks at, when you get your license, you're going to want to fly, and then you're going to kick me out of the plane because you want to do it by yourself, okay? It's very smart. It's the same thing when you deal with students on the mats. When they come in, you let them know they're important. Hey, David, when later on as you get up in rank, you're going to do this. And he thinks, am I going to get up in rank? Okay. What you did is you took away that doubt. Okay. You replaced it with, you're important. and this is what you're going to be able to do. Okay, and that's very important. So like Reggie, when I tell people, you know, what do you learn after your third degree black belt in Kempo? I mean, there's only a certain amount of techniques, right? Okay, so what do you need a fourth degree on your belt for? Does it mean that, or do you want to fight more? Is that what you want? Okay. How much do you want to fight? Okay. Are you passing out degrees based upon how good they are at fighting? Okay. Because everybody ages. Okay. Are you passing out degrees on their ability to teach after third degree? Okay. That's what those Reddit tips are for. Okay. It's how well you can teach somebody else, not how fast and how strong you're going to make yourself, because that'll happen anyway. Okay? You will age like good wine and you will get smarter and you will get better physically. But that's not what we're doing. At a certain point, you got to cut off and say, all right, it's not the physical, but here you are. You're up here at third degree, but your teaching level is what? Hovering down here. What I got to do for your fourth or your fifth or your sixth is get them proportioned to each other. Okay? That's the test.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I try and stay away from controversy and that sort of thing on my show, but I would, there's definitely the, gosh, how do I want to word this? There is definitely that air of some folks chasing the rank. They want to chase the stripes, and
Yeah.
it's.
Can you hold on 1 minute?
Sure,
give me
sure,
30
sure, no problem.
Give me 30 seconds. We're right back. I'm going to put the air
Sure.
back on.
Sure, no problem. And just for the viewers and whatnot out there, I'm trying to catch up on the comments and whatnot here. So we'll use this moment for me to take a look at these real quick. Let's.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Your question again was chasing the stripes?
Well, I just I like that you kind of clarified a little bit more about getting up when you're getting into those higher degrees. Like they're not just okay, I've showed up prize, and that there is a reasoning behind getting it to those
Yeah.
upper levels without just saying, oh, well, I'm a fifth degree, I'm a ninth degree, I'm whatever degree. Like that part of it doesn't matter. It's like, what is the meaning behind getting those other stripes? And yes, it goes beyond the physical, the movements. There's only so many techniques, only so many extensions. And once you get there, what there's more to it than just learning the curriculum. There is the teaching, there is the giving back to the art, there is all of these other pieces that I think a lot of people miss, and they're just, oh, well, I just want to be able to say that I'm this or that, and have this red in my belt, and that's kind of it. And it's like, no, there's a reasoning behind it, and it's not just, oh, well, I've been doing Kempo X number of years, so give me. So I like
Yeah.
that you kind of clarified that a bit more.
Well, you just, the guy came to me and said, I want this, will you promote me to this degree of black belt? And I said, okay. I said, great. I said, what have you done for the last 15 years? I hadn't seen him 15 years. Well, I said, do you have a school? He said, no, I never had a school. And I said, do you teach? He said, well, I go to seminars and I help out once in a while. And I said, why do you want this degree? And he said, well, I'm better than the rest of those yahoos out there. I said, really? And I said, I'm not going to promote you. I said, if you go out and in the next few years you teach a host of people, help some kids off the street, contribute in that fashion, I said, come back to me. And I said, yeah, but I'll be too old then. And I said, well, what do you want me to do? Promote you because you're alive? Okay. It really irritated me, and I lost a lot of respect for him for asking that. Okay. As if wearing another degree was going to change how he moved. I had one guy come in the studio years ago, and he was a third degree black belt from another Kempo school. And each degree is supposed to be, well, the first one is an inch from the bottom, and the degree itself is a half an inch wide. That is the standard. Okay. He had 3 5-inch red stripes on each side. So from a distance, it looked like what?
Yeah.
He was way up there. And he said, well, I'm here for my lesson. I said, first lesson is not with that belt. I said, I'm not going to do it. I said, you can keep that for yourself, but when you come, I said, what are you? He said, well, I'm third degree. I said, that says 15. Okay. And I said, it's 30 if you count both sides. I said, come on. I said, what is it that you want for yourself? So he came back a few days later and he had regular stripes on there. I said, now, it probably hurts right now that you're experiencing, you think you're demoted. But I said, why don't you just humble yourself to yourself, not to me? I said, because what you do outside of the school with me, it's not my business. But when you're on the mats, it is my business. Okay? And I can't have you walking around my mats in front of the other students wearing 30 degrees. Okay? Well, it's not 30. I said, he said, well, I said, look, you want to take lessons from me? Fine, I'll teach you. But I said, do something about that belt. And he did. And I said, you're not any lesser for it. Okay? You're not any lesser for it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I'm a big fan of getting that humbleness, learning that it's not a bad thing to quote unquote start over. So when I started Kempo in the early '90s, and I started at a Tracy school, and I got almost to my third brown when I left for the Army, and number of years later I started training again, but this time I'm at a Ned Parker school, and when I was talking to my teacher, I was, all excited to get in and get started. And, oh, well, I've got experience. I did Kempo for a long time. I've done some Taekwondo, done some boxing. Like I'm ready to go. And my teacher said that, well, you got to start over as a white belt. And I'm not gonna lie. At first, I was pretty crushed by that, and because I wanted to do book set, which I found out that we do not do book set in that school. But that was another blow that I took. But I was a little upset about starting over again, but once I started getting into the training, one of the things, I mean, I loved my original school and everything, but we didn't work on the concepts and the principles. We didn't do freestyle. There were a lot of things that we didn't do. We had a lot more techniques. Yes, that's fine, but
Sure.
we didn't have a lot of the why. We had the how, but we didn't have the why. And at the school that I'm at now, I mean, by the time I got to my orange belt, I felt like I had so much more knowledge and so much more of an understanding of the system than I did before, that I come to realize, oh yeah, no, I needed to start over. I needed to get
You needed
filled up
that.
with that information. So
You needed that breath of fresh air or different air. You know, when a guy comes in and he's a black belt in another Kimpo style, I don't always I don't always start him over. In fact, if he's close enough to what we're doing, I'm not going to start. I'll teach him all the material, but I'm not going to have him drop his belt. Okay. Now, if he comes from a judo school, I can't have him wear a black belt on. That doesn't
yeah,
work. But if he comes from a Kempo school and it's closely related, I don't need it, and I don't ask him to wear another belt. But from other systems entirely, yeah, you have to. Um, Generally, what we used to do is we give, if a guy, say for instance, a brown belt, and he's from a related style of Kempo, but not close enough. You say, but he's very talented. He can fight. He may have won tournaments, whatever. Okay, then we'd give him a year to come up to par with what we're doing, and then he would retain that belt, and then move from that point on. Okay, I didn't need to take him back to white belt because that's ludicrous in for some people. Okay, and and he has to go through the different stages of humility and all that stuff. Um, that's redundancy and it's not necessary. And but like you said, if the concepts and principles are so far apart, then you've got to start at a level that when he's on the mat with the students, they understand he's not a beginner. Okay, so you have to massage it a bit, okay, and make it work for what you want for the student and what they want, okay. Um, and that's generally you take it as individual.
yeah, I like it. I like it. Okay, so as it always goes, we're flying through time, and we didn't really pre-discuss what kind of how much time you had for me to tonight. So
Oh, I'm fine. Whatever, if you're good.
so, I mean, I usually go about an hour, so we'll definitely kind of go a little bit over that. I don't want to keep you too long, and as I say with many of my guests, we're gonna have to do a part 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 12 and all of that. But I want to go ahead and ask this kind of new idea that kind of popped up, and then I want to make sure that we talk about your upcoming book as well. So this new kind of question that I'm going to kind of throw out here is, I guess, kind of a two-parter. One part of it is, if you had not gotten into Kempo, what system do you think you might have gone into? And then kind of the second part of that, or the second phase of that question is, what do you think you would have been doing if you just hadn't gotten into Kempo at all? So there's the martial arts side of it, and then there's the non-martial arts side of it.
Um, Gosh, I can't really say what I would have gotten into, um, and I'll tell you why. It's because when I got out of the service, and it's been a year in Vietnam when I came back, I knew less of what I wanted to do than I did before I went in. Okay. All
I know
right.
that
So,
feeling. Know
all right.
that feeling well.
So what I did was, and I tell this in my new book. Okay, I struggle with destiny. That's the title. It's at the printers right now, and I had to write it in such a way that I take you on a journey. It's like a novel and a biography together. Okay, but each page is a lesson. It's what I learned from teaching. What did the students teach me? What was their participation in my life that taught me? Okay, not what I'd got on the mats and then I just said, okay, this is me. No, it's a combination of the teacher and the student. The student also brings something to the table. Always, always. You got to remember that. And as you teach, you learn. Okay, and they learn, and they also learn to teach from you. Okay, so in my case, when I was at a nightclub and just hanging out, and a guy came up to me from high school and he grabbed me. He said, "Hey, Larry," he said, "you used to come into the bathrooms in high school when we'd smoke cigarettes, and then you would teach some Kimpo you learned." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I remember that." And he said, "They're offering a job down the street at Ed Parker's." He said, "It pays pretty good. You ought to go do it." He said, I just here to tell you should go do it." And it was him that got me into my destiny. Okay, my calling. He saw it where I didn't. He remembered it all the way into high school. That he said, "It's a calling." He said, "I know you. That's what you're supposed to be doing." And so I went down there, and that's how it happened. So I couldn't tell you what I would have done, uh, and that's the honest truth. So all I can tell you is that I followed my calling, and that is God given, and that's how I do it. That's what I did. Okay. I'll tell you this: if I'd gone to the corporate world, can you picture me in a cubicle behind a desk all my life?
Yeah, you don't seem like the cubicle type. So
No. Um, it's so it was a calling, and this guy helped me recognize what my calling was. And I knew it when I got back on the mats after the war. I knew it, and I was right at home. I put the gi top on me, and it felt like an old friend again. And I went to work. You got to understand, I was barefooted in 1971 when I started teaching, and I was in pajamas, which is your karate uniform, right? Your gi. And all my friends were all going to corporate jobs and that type of thing and so forth. And I looked down, I was barefooted. And I thought, my God, I'm on the cutting edge, I hope, of something where I can make a living. Okay? And that was a hard pill to take. It was a hard pill to take because who was barefoot at that time making a living? It just didn't exist. It wasn't a part of Americana. Teaching martial arts for a living was not going to buy you a house, a car, and support a family. Only a handful of guys in the United States were teaching karate that could make a living. So there's your answer.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to ask you about is the future of Kempo. Where do you see it heading? Where would you like to see it heading? Where would you like kind of your legacy to be, and just kind of your thoughts on the future of the art, especially since of course there's lots of fractured parties and bruised egos and all of these different sorts of things. Maybe kind of what would be your thoughts on how to help unify the Kempo community and how to help the Kempo community grow. I mean, with
Yeah.
with the rise of MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and all these other different arts and things like that, and just things in general are pulling people's attentions all sorts of different ways. What do you think we could do to help grow and help unite Kempo?
I think the best thing, well, the talent is greater than it ever has been around the world because of communications. Okay, social media has reached people everywhere. So people that normally, 30, 40, 50 years ago would not be doing this are doing it. Okay, it was just everything's changed through social media without a doubt, and the talent is incredible out there now. Okay, there was uh, a time when people wanted to kick like Bruce Lee, but very few could. Now a lot of people can kick. Okay, all right, it's the same with Kempo too. Um, I think the best thing for Kempo to continue to evolve is get away from competing with other people outside of tournaments. Okay, if you're going to compete, go to a tournament. If you don't like somebody, find somebody you do like. Okay, if you're busy teaching and busy trying to help your community, okay, then you won't have time to worry about other people's opinions of you. Okay, and when people throw out uh, their opinions about you and so forth, take it with a grain of salt. You don't need to help somebody who's already digging themselves in a hole. You don't need to help them. Okay. So when you engage, okay, just, it's not necessary. It's not important. Okay. What is important is that you are important enough, okay, that you will continue to do your very best in helping others through this art, okay, to reach their greatest potential and sacrifice yourself in the process of doing that. If you can't sacrifice yourself for the betterment of your fellow man, of your fellow woman, okay, then you shouldn't be teaching this, okay, because this is a tool. It's a God-given tool. Like many tools are here on this planet that you can use and identify with, but use it in terms of how can it help people to a point of grace. And what that means, I know it's a biblical term, but you bring somebody to a point of grace is that when you sacrifice yourself for them. Okay? Now, there's a lot of guys that teach this around the world, okay? And they get glorified. And, if you treat somebody like a god, they'll let you. Okay? And you don't want that. Get off the pedestal. Okay? All right? And make terms with the idea that you sacrifice yourself on those mats. Okay? Yes, a degree of respect and a degree of decorum is expected, of course, because rituals and formalities make people adhere to their better side. Okay? But you as yourself, okay, have got to take the time to let them stand on your shoulders, not the other way around. Okay? Not the other way around. And if you continue to do that in that vein, then Kempo will continue to grow. It's enormous now around the world. It'll continue to grow. And people know when you're teaching an honest lesson, and they know when you're not. Okay? It's a tool, and it's not to be misused. Okay?
Very nice. Very nice. I like it. I like it. Okay. So what, I guess kind of another two-parter kind of question here. What would be something, would be something that is a maybe misconception about Kempo that maybe you would like to clarify or clear up? And then kind of the second question with that is maybe what is maybe a misconception or about you that maybe you'd like to clear up or address. And we totally can go as far
Shoot.
or into that or
Well,
not into that as you wish. But just
no, no, no.
kind of your thoughts there.
You know, I'm an open book. Okay. Um, I don't stand on pretense. I don't like it. Okay. I, I appreciate the, like I said, the formalities that we have, which keeps order within a school. But bes- besides that, um, what I have done for years is that years ago they'd have black belt class, brown belt class, intermediate, white belt. And I thought, I'm going to do something different. Is that I'm going to teach black belts and white belts in the same class. Guy said, "Oh man, you can't do that." And I said, "Yes, you can." And I said, "Watch what happens." The black belts got their workout, and the white belts were in the same class next to them, watching them and learning, because now the black belts were becoming my teachers, my other right hand. You get where I'm going? Okay? And it kept the black belts humbled. Because in a family, everybody comes to the same dinner table, right? Everybody comes to the same dinner table. Everybody eats the same food. You don't say, because this person is younger than you, you're not at the dinner table until you're older, and on and on and on and on. So I structured my way of teaching in that manner, and it allowed me to then go out beyond the school, okay, and teach that way across the world. Okay? Everybody comes to the same table.
Very
It got
nice.
so, and this is, if you want to uh, delineate between black belts, brown belts in one class, that's fine. Okay. But have at least one class in your school where they all come in the same class, and you'll watch how fast your white belts learn, because they're opposite black belts and brown belts and green belts. So, you see what I'm saying? Okay.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a big fan of we can all learn from each other, and
Yeah.
just like the saying goes, just because the belt colors show doesn't mean that you know. I've trained with black belts that I'm gonna put my little Kempo snob hat on and say that I've trained with some black belts that I a little questionable about maybe their commitment to training, and I've trained with some white belts that are amazing and really hungry for the art and
Exactly.
everything in between. Yeah, just because they have whatever around their waist, don't assume that they know or don't know something, and
No.
don't assume that you can't learn
No.
something.
And
You should have that
yes.
openness in your heart and your mind to realize that you can learn, you can teach, and you can learn from anybody. So
Well, that's like I said. Any karate lesson takes two people, at least, not one.
exactly, exactly. Okay. So I think a couple more things I want to touch on. Kind of looking at some of the comments and questions and things that are kind of coming in. I think, and if this is okay with you, after we're done, I will allow people to send me any kind of questions that they have for you, and I can maybe send those to you offline, and then we can find some maybe do another part where we can just answer those specific questions, or something along those lines. But something that I'm curious about is, and something that I've asked my previous guests, what is something in the training, since you've been training for a long time now, what is something that we used to do, or I should say you used to do in training that maybe we don't do now that you wish would come back, and vice versa? What is maybe something we do now that you wish we would have had, in your early years?
I would say encourage excellence in your school. Okay. Um, Successful schools are built upon how much that you want them to reach their highest potential. Okay. And understand that there are three types of students that come into a school. And you have the tinker, the watchmaker, and the iron worker. Okay? The iron worker is the guy who's really tough, or the lady's really tough, and you just like to watch them fight, and they eat rusty nails for breakfast. Okay? But they inspire the tinker. The tinker comes in, he just likes to get on the mat and rub elbows with, you know, the guys that know how to fight and the guys that have that confidence and so forth. And he or she may not have that confidence, but they like to be in the environment of the family members, like the bigger brother or bigger sister that can protect them. They like that. They tinker with it. Then you have the watchmaker, comes in your school, and they can tell you every technique by number in the book, okay, matching the name, tell you exactly how it's done, okay, and they're guaranteed to point it out when you're not doing it exactly how it's written. But you got to have those people, okay? They make up a family, okay? You don't want a school of all what? Ironworkers. If you're going to help your community, you don't want a school of all tinkers because you wouldn't have a school after a while, okay? And you don't want all watchmakers because they're know-it-alls. But that's all right. Family members, your brother may be a know-it-all. Your sister may be a tinker in school, whatever. But it's what makes up, okay? You need those iron workers so that the students can look up and try to emulate them. In reverse, the iron workers need to humble themselves to help the tinkers. And then the iron worker will turn to the watchmaker and say, how does that technique go? You see what I'm saying? Okay.
Exactly.
That's what your community is built around in your studio.
Exactly. I like it. All right. Want to go ahead and ask one more thing, and then we will wrap up our time for today. So, I have been teaching capoeira for a lot of years, but I'm now that I'm in the kind of upper ranks in Kempo, and I'm starting to get into the teaching side of it a little bit more. I want to kind of ask what your advice is for those that are teaching. We've kind of touched on little bits of it in our time today, but maybe what is maybe a couple of tips, advice that you would want to give for people that are for teachers in general. So whether they're new to it or whether they've been doing it for a long time, so with all of your experience, maybe what are some do's and don'ts, or just kind of advice from your perspective and from your experience?
Oh my gosh. You're talking about different styles sometimes. You know, uh,
Just
in,
teaching in general. I mean, whether it be so, like one of the things that kind of comes to mind is just just having that perspective. So one of the things that my teacher taught me about teaching is like mirroring the student. I would, go to show a technique or show a form or something like that, and not take into the account that they're watching me, but they're seeing me on the reverse side. So I have to do everything on the second side when I'm showing it to them, so that they're
that's a good.
seeing it
That's
in
a
the same, the
That's
same
very good.
direction.
Yeah, do the left side of what you're teaching, so that you mirror them side to side. Um, uh, Sometimes when you do that, students say, "Oh, you want me to do it on the left side?" No, I'm mirroring you. Yeah, but you're on the other side. I know, but it's confusing to me. Don't let it confuse you. Okay, you got to watch out for that. But no, that's a good thing to do. Also, when you're teaching, you know, you take a form like any form, like short one or whatever, and they're facing the same spot every time you have them in your studio, and so they know their reference points. Take them and put them in a corner and say, "Now do short form one." And 9 out of 10 times they can't. They don't end up in the right place because you changed their what?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, my teacher, he gets us with that all the time. Is, oh yeah,
Yeah.
you're so used to looking at the front of the studio, and it's like, oh, okay, well sometimes we'll do a form with your eyes closed, and it's like, okay, that's fine, but and you can still work through it. But as soon as we say, okay, face the right side of the room and do short one, and
Yeah, exactly.
it completely falls apart, and it's funny, just the one little change that that you can do, and it just totally throws
Just
everything
remember
off.
when you're teaching, somebody's doing something wrong. Don't be the teacher that goes up and says you're doing that wrong. So you're trying to correct it by changing 10 things that they're doing to correct that one thing. Oh, don't do that. Be the teacher who comes up and says, you know, I'm going to change 10 things by correcting one mistake, not the other way around. Okay?
Yeah.
Change 10 things to change one. Okay? Change one thing, that'll change 10.
I like it. I like it. I like it. All right. Well, we are going to go ahead and close out our time for today. But like I mentioned, we'll definitely have to have you on to get into more stuff and get into more specific topics. But so now we're at the point of shameless self promotion. So you can plug anything that you want, or if there's anything that we
Well,
haven't said
I,
that you want to get to, you
my
have the
new
floor.
my new book is at the printers, literally, and they're just about done. So I should get a copy of the book in under 2 weeks. Okay, and I'll do a whole promotional video on it. Okay, it's a big book. It's everything that I ever learned through teaching, everything that I think is important for you to know. Okay, it's every page is a lesson, but it's also written like a novel. So you go on this journey with me. Okay, this this book is I wanted to write, but I had to wait to a certain age to where it was the timing was right for it, and it is now. So I will let you know as soon as the first copy comes in. Okay,
Very nice.
it,
Yeah. And
I'm
I will
very
make
very
sure
proud.
to put that information for that in the show notes and on my website and stuff, and make sure to promote that. As much as I love doing this show and I love talking to people, and it's great when a number of my guests have written books, and I think I've picked up every one of my guests, at least one of their books. Unfortunately, though, with training 5 martial arts and a job and dogs and a wife and all that, I don't have enough time to read them. I probably should do more reading than I do, but I definitely will definitely pick up a copy and get inside the mind of Mr. Tatum here and learn some of the valuable lessons from your experience. So, yes, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to be on and chatting with me. Like I mentioned, I will try and collect these questions that the viewers and stuff have offline here and send them your way, and then we'll maybe do another part and answer those questions. But yes, once again, I can't thank you for just your time, your knowledge, your story, and I look forward to just more down in the future. I will also just give another little shout out to your daughter and your son-in-law, Brittany and Brandon. They have both been on my show individually and together, and it was so adorable to have them on together. They're just lovebirds, and I love that. So, but yeah, it was just a real pleasure and honor to get to speak with you tonight, and I can't wait for future conversations and to get into more at another time. But once again, thank you so much for all those that have been watching and listening and stuff. Thank you for your support, and we will close out for tonight, and we'll just keep on training and keep on learning good stuff. So thank you so much.
All right, Reggie. Have a good night.
You too.